For almost 20 years, I've begged my father to travel with me to the town in Sicily where he was born, going with Dad, who knows information that I would ever be able to find on my own. But my father has always made excuses for not going. Early on, he said that he hated puckering up for all those kisses his cousins would expect. Eventually, he switched to, "I could never travel with you, we'd kill each other." There's probably more truth to us killing each other. Dad has always been patriarchal and more conservative. After having left home over 30 years ago, I've discovered a more feminist outlook. It's made for a fiery relationship between my father and me. We've argued over women's issues, the hierarchy of the church, and my profession as an artist. I've even reached the point where I refuse to answer my father when he asks how much I make on a piece of art. He's been known to scoff at the amount, throw his hands in the air and say something irritating about how much more money he makes cutting hair. And I didn't even have all those years of college and graduate school, he's been known to say too. Dad also squirms when I encourage my mother to stand her ground against him. One day, when I was visiting, my father stood up from the dinner table, like he's always done, and headed for his recliner. "Mary, bring me my coffee," he called out to my mother. Using every expression my eyes and brow would allow, I mouthed the words dramatically for only my mother to see. "Tell him to get it himself." With me there as support, Mom held her head high and proudly called back, "Get it yourself, Nick." My father turned around quickly, his face a red flame. He stared at her with his mouth open, then calmed down, looked over at me, and pointed, you. I know you were behind this." I shrugged my shoulders and smiled. My mother laughed all the way to the coffee pot. She poured a cup and laid it on the TV table next to him. I just shook my head. Despite my father's opinion that my career choice as an artist, writer, and teacher would never bring in large amounts of money, I've managed to get myself to Italy and other countries in Europe numerous times. Of course, he attributes this to Stu's income, even though that's not always been the case. Twice I have traveled with my husband to Italy. Stu likes to brag about how I could get us through the country with what he thinks is good Italian. But even Stu always said that he would only travel to Sicily if my father agreed to go, since the language barrier is more challenging in the smaller paesi or villages on the island. So during Easter weekend of 2000, while driving from our home outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, to see my parents in Syracuse, New York, Stu and I conjured up a plan to trick my father into going to Sicily. Knowing how vital money is to the Italian mindset, we were about to make my father an offer he'd hate to refuse. "Dad, want to go to Sicily with us?" I asked soon after we arrived. He responded with one of his usual smart remarks, "Only if you pay." "You're on, Dad." Speechless, which was rare for Dad, he stood smiling. Even though he can be a curmudgeon at times, I also knew my father's generous spirit would never allow us to pay for everything. My response intrigued him. "You're going to pay my way?" he asked. "We'll pay if you go." "Your mother too?" "Of course," I said, and looked over toward Mom, standing at the stove, stirring a pot of boiling pasta. She scrunched her face in uncertainty. Wrinkles in her forehead appeared. Her mouth turned into a half smile. "You game, Mom?" I asked. "Whatever your father says." Poor Mom. I knew she had little desire to go to Italy or anywhere abroad. She has never been crazy about flying, period. As part of the World War II generation of Italian-American women, she believes in doing whatever her husband says, like me. She may complain about my father to one of my sisters or to me, sometimes even in hearing range of Dad's chair, hoping to elicit an ally. But whatever conversation transpires doesn't matter. My mother still goes along with my father's decisions.